I think the most important thing today is that I don't just narrate my story or the story of my business, but I leave you with something tangible and useful to take with you. But before I dig into that, I guess every story does start somewhere. So I'll give you a very, very brief version of mine. My family are from Cyprus on both sides. They came to the UK in the 1960s. And I guess I grew up with that immigrant mentality of forge your own path and build something from nothing. When I was 13, my dad fell sick, and sadly he died when I was 16. And I guess as the eldest child, that was really the impetus to quit my job, start my own business, and hopefully be able to provide for my family. After various failed, horrific attempts at other startups, I spotted an opportunity in the market. This was about 12 years ago, before healthy snacking kind of kicked off in this country, and there was sort of cardboard and shapers, and that was about it. And I thought if you could take popcorn and season it and pop it in the right way, it was genuinely a healthier snack, and everyone understands what popcorn is. I went home and I told my mum about this idea. And I'd actually forgotten about it, but she reminded me that the last present my father had bought me was a popcorn machine, and it was in the loft. And I thought, okay, well, it's a good enough reason. I quit my job the next day and spent a couple of years trying to get my business up and running. A lot of people here, I'm sure, will know that the world of manufacturing, especially a decade ago, being a young woman with no proven track record, I got loads and loads of no's in my face. The big boys are coming, go and ask for your job back. Luckily, I'm stubborn. And so I needed to be really resourceful. And I got a cement mixer, like the one you see here, and I needed a way of tumbling the corn. And so I got a cement mixer, lined it with steel to make it hygienic. And then I was watching Top Gear, and they were saying that the way cars are sprayed is the finest mist you can get. That's why they're so immaculate. And so I got a car spraying kit online, and I used that to apply the oil. And that's how the first batches were made. Our first customer was Google HQ, and we went on to become the world's first B Corp snacks company. Really proud to say that we are the biggest and fastest growing independent snack company in Europe now. We sell over 8 million packs a month. And 2 years ago was a really big milestone where I sold the majority of my business. And as an aside, while I was selling proper, I was pregnant. So for any kind of mums in the audience now, who I'm sure have been there, I was really, really sick. And so just imagine, I had to keep it a secret because I didn't want to be seen as risk. And so just imagine pitching to some of the biggest companies in the world whilst having to do secret breaks to be sick in Regent's Canal, which is where our office was. Despite that, we got there in the end. I'm really proud to say we found fantastic new partners, and we are now on the kind of next chapter of growth. So I'm still very operational. I'm on the board. And I'm happy to say the business is out now over 100 million in sales and still growing. And while I was on maternity leave, I had a small bit of time to reflect and think about what are the biggest lessons that I had learned? What were the things that had helped us get to where we got to at that point? And so I'm going to share some of those lessons with you now. How does it make you feel? This is the question that I always come back to. What doesn't move you isn't going to move anyone else. And we are emotional creatures. That's how we make decisions. We put feelings before truth. We put beauty before logic. We've all kissed them. And when we're stuck, we often look for answers in evidence, data, meeting rooms. We hammer our ideas out, consensus driving the life out of them. Now, there is value to that input, but we need to remember to ask one simple thing. How does it make me feel? And if it doesn't stir something, what meaning is it going to have with anyone else? 7 years ago, we were thinking about our first a major bit of marketing, so our first media buy. We knew we wanted to go big, but we didn't know what we were going to put on it. And Becky, our creative director at the time, she was at her computer and she laid out this beautiful, simple grid popcorn pattern on a coloured background. No clever copy, no health messaging, just distinctive, bold, and visually arresting. And we wrapped 10 buses in it and half of London, and it went on to become one of our most iconic brand assets. In a world where, at a time where people were telling people how to live, what to eat, what to do, and it was all becoming wallpaper, we made wallpaper. And in a world of increasing noise and distraction, I guess really find the courage to back the ideas that move you. I think the difference between emotion and reason is that reason leads to conclusions, whereas emotion leads to action. Don't get comfortable. History belongs to the restless. Comfort zones become graveyards for dreams. And this is a rule I've realized as I've become more confident in my career. Changing your mind is okay. We've always been restless, but it just took a while for us to get comfortable with that. I guess the point is that changing your mind means you have one. The point is that idea is never finished. Innovation never ends, and progress certainly never comes from just standing still. In 2011, we launched our first packaging, and it was something I just cobbled together on PowerPoint with a friend of mine. And after about 9 months, I started to sort of get itchy and restless and decided to change it. And then a year later, I changed it again, and the team would sort of bemoan because it's really time-consuming and incredibly expensive. And actually now we just accept that we want to stay super relevant as a brand, and so pretty much on an annual basis for the last 12 years, we continue to evolve our packaging. An impatient business is a progressive business, and the world definitely keeps moving. You know, we've just gone through the great accelerator with global events like COVID, Brexit, the war. We've got machine learning and AI coming, or it's here. And so remaining still may feel comfortable in the moment, but it will leave you behind. It is restlessness and risk-taking that keeps you relevant. So John Lasseter is the guy who came up with Toy Story. I think he wrote it, I should check. But he famously said, give the people what they want. A great product always sells itself, and quality beats any business plan. Would you buy it? Would you pay money for it? It's a simple rule. You either create something the world wants, or you're going to spend all your time trying to convince the world they want it. And the second option is brutal and really expensive. The thing that I've learned time and time again is don't lose sight of the thing you're selling. Focus on making your products and your business the best they can possibly be. And everything else stems from this: growth, fame, profitability, followers. If you focus on these things first, you will really quickly fail. You know, you're asking people to part with their money. So without the best products, everything else has less meaning. And when you get it right, it just works. So Proper Chips is our lentil chips range that we launched in 2019. And we spent so much time obsessing over the shape, the texture, the curvature. You know, we even wrote a blueprint for it. And it just works. You know, people love them. They've got the highest repeat rates in the entire crisp snacks and nuts category. And they are now our rocket ship. So wherever you sit in the business, be curious about your products, understand their supply chain, the integrity of the packaging, be obsessed with the products first. Better a hole than an arsehole. Dan Jacobs was the head of talent for Apple, which is a brand I'm obsessed with, and he speaks a lot about bring up the people who stand for your values, let go of those who don't. I have zero tolerance for people in my business who don't live by our values. The negative impact they will have across your team is immeasurable. You need people who are motivated to really go the distance. So become comfortable with firing people. You are often doing the best by them. You know, I've never been in a situation where it isn't in the interests of both, and they deserve to be somewhere where they're going to thrive. But back to having a whole, I guess my point is really take the time and get amazing at hiring, but be an incredible recruiter. Really think about the process. One thing that I will always do is make sure that as part of the process, there's a task where they're going to demonstrate the job that they will then come on to do. If you panic and fill the hole quickly, it's going to take 3 or 4 times as long to fix it. And businesses get really flabby with that kind of approach. We have an internal mantra that I've been banging on about for years. Be a builder, not a tenant. If you want to figure things out and fix things and put on your sort of metaphorical hard hat and high-vis jacket, then you've come to the right place. But if you want to spot problems and keep a little list in your back pocket and complain to the landlord, then you're a tenant, and maybe you should go and work at PepsiCo because they've definitely got it figured out. Be a builder. Being a builder boils down to 3 things: creative entrepreneurialism, embracing ambiguity, and the third is just acting. So I'm just going to quickly run through those 3 things because this is the most important one to me. Creative entrepreneurialism. So there's a story that I read about the Isle of Wight Festival founder, a guy called Ray Folk. He's a brilliant example of a creative entrepreneur who thinks that anything is possible. And his daughter was stuck on a school project on the life of Bob Dylan. And he says to her, he challenges her and says, why don't you speak to his mum? And after some time, you know, this was a while ago, she's trawling through the phone book. She's soon chatting away to Bob Dylan's mum in Minnesota. Brilliant lateral thinking. Hold on to anyone who thinks in this way. The second bit is about embracing ambiguity. So this is about not getting restrained or mechanical. You need to love the outliers, the bits that are overlooked or undervalued. Embrace contradiction and then creatively resolve it. And that's how you come up with new ideas that push things forward. And then the final bit is action. You know, nothing is more energizing and fulfilling than taking action. Just acting rather than ruminating is really powerful, something my therapist has said to me quite a few times. And the psychologist, David Dunning, is known for studying stupidity. But his work also illuminates how smart people think. So he says, dumb people see the world in black and white, whereas smart people think in probabilities. So not will X or Y happen, but what is the probability of X and Y happening? 10, 30, 50%. Be comfortable with the fact that you're never going to get to 100, and then understand that you're dealing with probabilities so you don't get paralyzed. I have a theory that the bigger businesses get, the less they act relatively. And there's a need for more alignment, the corporate word of the year, more layers, endless sign-offs, decisions get delayed, decisions that could be made in minutes get delayed for hours, then weeks, and it's an elaborate process of baton passing. Days spent doing something meaningful with people I enjoy are the ones that I treasure. That determination of success is available to every one of us. Approach every challenge with excitement and opportunity because nothing brings people together more like problem solving. You should be aware of the competition, particularly their performance, but you should have the discipline to leave it at that. So don't follow them on Instagram. In fact, if anyone is here now who follows their competitors on Instagram, get your phone out and unfollow them. I have never followed any of our competitors. If you look left and right, you can't help but be influenced. That's how creativity works. Our subconscious won't let us forget it. And then soon enough, without even knowing it, you have all started looking and behaving the same. Inspiration is found everywhere, but particularly outside of our category. Apple, again, they famously place a lot of importance on their boxes. So they're really pioneering here. The way if you've ever got a new iPhone, the way they feel when you open it, the thickness of the card, it feels so special. And when we got our first supermarket listing, it was in Tesco's, and we got 1,000 stores, and we opened a bottle of bubbly, and we were like, yes, we've made it. And then what happened is, basically, we didn't make it onto over 50% of the shelves because as a brand new brand, we got forgotten about in the stockroom because no one knew who we were. The way that someone like KP or PepsiCo will deal with that if they're launching a new brand is they will have an army of field sales agents doing what's called compliancy checks. So they go into every single store and make sure that the product makes it onto the shelf. We obviously didn't have the budget for that. And so we decided to turn a brown cardboard box into something beautiful, illustrative, yes, a bit more expensive. But as a result, our compliancy shot up literally overnight. Want to be good at logistics? Find out what Amazon do. Want to be good at customer service? How do Monzo do it? Want to create hype? How do cult sneaker brands do the latest drop? When you look outside, seek ideas from the entire spectrum of companies, creatives, and culture, particularly those that are shaping the conversation, because you never know where the answer may lie. And then the final one, George Michael, big fan. So this is an official policy. We ban desk eating. For over a decade, every day at 1 p.m., George Michael, Careless Whisper is played on our office speakers, and it's that amazing saxophone intro that I won't try and recreate now. But I've always been passionate about culture, and without a doubt, this is the single most effective thing I've ever done. It all began in one of our first years where I was in Naples meeting one of our print suppliers, and I was chatting to the CEO, and it got to 1 o'clock, and he sort of interrupted me and said, I'm so sorry, Cassandra, it's 1 o'clock, it's lunchtime. And the entire factory, down tools, went into a cafeteria and had lunch together. And so I brought it back to our office, and since then I've always insisted on eating together. The best conversations happen over food. It doesn't matter how much work you have on, you can always find 10 minutes. Eat, have some food, and share conversation. Our team is only as strong as the bonds we have, and we need to have strong relationships that bridge every arm of the conversation, of the company, so that Becky in the creative team knows what Nathan in supply chain is working on, and it builds company-wide empathy. Anyone can write an exciting business plan. I did an average one 10 years ago, and I very quickly realized that if I didn't have the team to make it happen, it's just an expensive dream. I think that's the last one. There we go. Yeah, I guess I wanted to say something to close out to those who are on this kind of journey and are perhaps doubting themselves. And I'm going to share a story with you that was a really challenging moment for me and has now become a source of strength. So very much in the kind of, I guess it's pre-launch, I used to do a lot of odd jobs to get extra income when I was trying to set up the company. And some of that was flyering work. And I was invited to a conference to work at a stand and hand out promotional flyers. It was a big conference centre like this, the London Excel Centre, and it was a gambling conference. I didn't realise that at the time. And I turned up and I went to my stand, and they were selling second-hand slot machines. They gave me my outfit, and I went into the loo and I put it on, and it was really not flattering. I felt super uncomfortable. And as I was walking out the loo, there was a mirror, and I saw in big black letters down the side of my body, it said, refurbished slot. I was pretty mortified, I burst into tears. I went home to my mum, cried for a while. She actually gave me the money to not have to do it the next day. I guess, the thing I want to say is there is no such thing as a failed entrepreneur or innovator. You took the risk of making something for the world. Never forget to stop and congratulate yourself just for giving it a go. It all takes risks. It takes guts, it takes sacrifice. And after the pandemic and in recessionary times, we need innovators more than ever before if we're going to have any chance of tackling climate change. There is, I feel, still a real unappreciation of entrepreneurs in this country, and Nassim Taleb writes about this in his book Anti-Fragile. So he says, there's no such thing as a failed soldier. There's no such thing as a failed entrepreneur. If you're not starting a business, but you're part of an organization and you're trying to drive change or innovation, there is a greater need for this type of approach more than ever before. So my final message to you is, if at any time you do feel self-doubt, any time you're scared of what's to come, remember you're doing something exceptional, and that should continue to drive you forward. Thank you.